Hey everyone, in this tutorial we are going to be creating an animated GIF to cover the full screen of your background in Storyline. So the first thing that you want to do is go to a video site to grab a video that you can use for this process, or you can use one of your own videos or a paid video if you have a paid video. So what I did here is, for this project I'm going to do one that's themed for public transportation safety. So I'm going to do this background as a sort of subway, and I've already downloaded it. So what you'll need for this is Photoshop, and I'm going to go ahead right now and open this in Photoshop, so you'll want to follow along. So I've got Photoshop open. This is part of the Adobe Creative Cloud, and I'm going to go to File, and then I'm going to go to Import, and then I'm going to go to Video Frames to Layers. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I want to be sure that I get a small enough file so that Photoshop doesn't stop working on me, because if you use a large file and try to import a video, it can get a little bit slow and shut down. So I'm going to search for where I put this video, and I'm going to open it. And this is the part where you want to play around and get the frames that you want, but in order to import it in, we want to make sure it's small enough. And so on this import video to layers, I want to do selected range only and have that checked off. And then you can see these little toggles down here. You can choose the frames that you want. So as I go through this, I might say, I don't want to have this train coming in. I want the trains to already be in. So I'm going to move these toggles inwards. And then you can see and play for what this looks like. So let's go ahead and play that. And that's a little long, so I don't want to have this be too long, because the longer that it is, the more that I'm going to have to adjust it and change the output, because we want our GIF to be a smaller size so that it loads really quickly in our project. So I'm going to make that a little bit shorter, and I may even adjust this in Photoshop more. And I think about there is probably good. So once you have it selected how you want, the range that you want to make sure this make frame animation is on, and I'm going to click OK. So I'll let this load for a second. Alright, now that we have our video imported into Photoshop, what we want to be able to do is to see the timeline for it. So you're going to want to go to the window and then go and select timeline, and now we can see our whole timeline here that consists of the frames that make up this video. And you can see that we have them all selected to be at 0.03 seconds. And what I'm going to do is I can go ahead and play that, and we can see what it looks like, and it looks pretty slow. So in order to change these, what I want to do is select the first frame and then slide all the way down to the last frame, and I want to hold shift down on my keyboard and click to the last frame, and then I can change all of these frames from any one of them and click on it and then change it to no delay. So that sends it to no delay at 0 seconds for all of my frames. I'll go ahead and play that again. Oops, let's start back here. I'll go ahead and play that again, and it's a little bit faster. So what I might want to do is, because I do have so many frames still, maybe I'll go ahead and delete a chunk of these. So maybe I just want to have 50 frames, so I'll go from 51 to 67, and then I'll just delete these. So you want to select it, shift on the frame that you want to select, and hold shift down, and then click to the frame that you don't want, or the last one, and then click your trash can to get rid of those, and it'll ask you if you want to delete them, and you want to say yes. Alright, so now we've got 49 frames here, and as you can see, this first one here I'm going to delete too because it's blank. So let's go ahead and play that really quick. So this will play in the background of our Storyline project. And there's another thing that you might want to do. on this as well, and that's you can change what your video looks like. So I have some preloaded actions. If I go to window and have actions, I can add some of these actions to make my video look a little bit different. So I might do something like make this a matte image. So I'm going to bring out my layers again. All right, so in order to apply a action to my video to make it have like a filter over it, what I need to do is select all the way from my first frame to my last frame. So hold down shift and then select your last up to your last frame. So I want to go from my first frame all the way to my last frame. And at your top layer, you want to select the action that you want to apply to put the filter over. So I'm going to go ahead and select the wash to matte for this filter and click continue. And then that's going to apply a sort of vintagey looking filter over my entire timeline here. So this is what my video will look like. And I see I have it set to 3, so I'm just going to change that back to no delay so you can see that. So the next step in this is to export the video to a GIF. So what we want to do is go to File and then Export, Save for Web Legacy, and we are going to export this as a GIF. And this might take a few seconds to render itself. All right, so as you can see here, you can see that the quality isn't too great, but what we want to make sure is that, and we can use the original here, we want to make sure that when we export this, the file size is not too big, and what we'll do is compress it. So from the drop down here, you want to select GIF, and then you want to make sure that this loops forever. So under the animation section down here, you want to make sure that your looping option is forever, so this continually loops for you. And then you can adjust some of the settings up here to see what they look like. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now. And then in the next part of this, we might want our GIF to have a file size that's a bit smaller, so you can use something like compressor.io to compress your animated GIF. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that and compress my file. So I'm going to go ahead and find my file, and I named it Subway, and it says my file is too large, so I actually might have to go back into Photoshop and resave this as a smaller file size. So I'm going to go ahead and go to save, and this is where you might have to adjust the image size to make the file smaller. So there are a few ways that we can get our file size down a little bit. So you'll notice that the file size is right here, and we need it to be under 10 to compress it. So right now what I did to get it to 10, because it was much higher, is I changed the image size. So down here, just change that to, I have mine around 800. And then another thing that we're going to do is change the colors. So and you can mess around with this to change it, and as you change things in here, you'll notice the file size going to different sizes. So I'm going to change it to 128. So there, as you can see, the color table, there's less colors, but now we can see that our file size is at 8. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now and compress it. All right, now we should be able to compress this. So I'm going to go and select this again and have this compress. And it's now compressing. So you can see the difference between our original here and then the compressed version. It's a little bit grainier, but I actually kind of like it because it gives it more of that vintagey feeling. And the good thing about this is before our file was 8 megabytes and now it's 3 megabytes. So that's pretty good for us. That means that it will load faster in our module. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and in the next video I'll show you guys how to add this to your storyline background as full screen.